On the southern tablelands of New South Wales, the Australian Government's Biodiversity Fund is investing $1.9 million to help link remnant vegetation along the Upper Murrumbidgee and Upper Lachlan rivers. Over the next 6 years, the Australian Government will support the Australian River Restoration Centre and Greening Australia to create riparian corridors and increase carbon storage.
Rivers are fabulous things in our landscape, really. They connect different parts of the landscape and they allow us to move and for animals to move up and down and throughout them. They also provide a focus for communities to act, because we know that rivers are so important socially and environmentally, because we like to hang out there, and also economically.
I think there's a good awareness, at least in this part of the world, the importance of actually preserving riparian areas or river systems, and also remnant vegetation and making the land productive alongside that.
Well, the Rivers of Carbon project is very much about working with people who believe what we believe in terms of actually wanting to look after these parts of the landscape. And it also means we're working with people who have already started to do this sort of work, if you like, along the rivers. So our project is looking at plantings that might have been in for 10 years, linking them up with plantings that might have been in only for 6 years, and then linking those up again with areas that may need to be planted. So we want to actually build on the work of the past rather than always starting from scratch. Let's build on what we've done before, build on the investment that governments and non-government organisations like my own and a whole lot of community groups have done, and start to match them up.
The way that funding has been structured in the past for non-government agencies and people like Landcare is that they tend to be in 1 to 3 year time frames, and often with a gap between the 3 year cycles. So what we've found is over years, through lots of different projects, we've actually started to make a difference to the landscape, where you can now drive around and actually see the work that's been done in a relatively short time frame, probably about 15 years. And so now the idea is to start to link some of those up rather than having them isolated in the landscape, and that has follow-on benefits for water quality obviously, and birds and fish and other wildlife.
The strength of the partnership between Greening Australia and the River Restoration Centre is about relationships and about friendship. So Laurie and I have known each other for at least 15, 16 years. And that partnership has been one where I've been working with scientists to find out what's happening in riparian zones, because we didn't know a lot for a long time in Australia. And then we go to Laurie and say, well, how does that actually work? How can you put that into practice? So that friendship's developed over the years, and we're now in a position where it's wonderful to be able to work together on a project. We're both a bit older and we've had a lot more experience in our relative fields. So bringing that together, we just feel confident this is going to be a fabulous project.
At the end of the day, we work with the willing. There's no point in trying to twist someone's arm to do something they don't want to do. Ultimately, the land manager has to do most of the work, even though we're assisting with funding. And they have to look after it and live with it for the next, however long they happen to be on the property. So that's our main focus.
One of the great things about this project is that not only do we have the expertise of Greening Australia, but we're actually wanting to take this much wider so that we actually let other people in Australia know what we're doing. And the River Restoration Centre is very much a hub for knowledge and for knowledge sharing. And one of the best ways of doing that is by telling stories. So over the next few years we'll be collecting stories from landholders, from some of the scientists that get involved, from some of the people who might come out and do bird surveys or river surveys, and actually get them to talk about why these places matter. For so long, science has seemed remote from day to day, and yet I know that the people I work with love the river and are passionate about their science, because it's about birds, or it's about fish, or it's about how rivers move through the landscape. So over the next few years we'll be collecting those stories and sharing them as widely as possible. We'll use film, we'll use audio, we'll get people to Twitter or to use some of the social media that's out there as well. But we're very committed to sharing our stories and to linking that with others across Australia.
To learn more about the Rivers of Carbon project and how the story unfolds, please visit the website